Good morning everybody, I'm Ethan in Year 10 and welcome to the Cultural Ambassador's presentation on Pride History Month for 2023. Each year Pride History Month has a theme. This time it's behind the lens. So I'm going to be, in part, talking about LGBT+ people and the media. How they're represented, portrayed, their involvement in the media, but there will be some other things I want to talk about as well. So there are three main parts to my presentation today. I want to talk about a person called Kay Tobin Marsha.P.Johnson, something called the Hays Code, and a woman called Marsha.P.Johnson. If you've never heard of any of these, well, hopefully by the end you'll be at least a little bit more aware of what makes queer history so interesting and empowering. I have Kay Marsha.P.Johnson. This person was a lesbian activist and photojournalist, which is impressive in itself, but what did they do, and why have I chosen to include them in my presentation? Well, they started their journalism career by becoming art director of a lesbian magazine called The Ladder. But what was special about what they did is that they took photographs of real lesbian women at protests on the street, some of which I'll show in a second, and put them on the front covers of their magazines as a sort of way of saying, we are real, we do exist in real life, and you should care about that fact. They also took photos of something called the annual Reminder Day Picket, which was a yearly protest against the laws in the US at that time, which made homosexuality illegal, along with other social inequalities. They were very outspoken and prominent within the gay rights community at the time, and their photographs documented the movement's earliest days. Later, in 1970, they were involved in the founding of the Gay Activist Alliance, one of the major groups that worked to improve gay rights in the US. As you may have noticed at the top there, Kay Marsha.P.Johnson unfortunately did pass away in May of 2021, aged 91. Which is just a testament to how the lives of people in the queer community continue to improve as more awareness is spread about the issues they face, past and present. And here are a few of the photos that they took. The third one across there is a photograph of themselves, I believe, and on the far right there is the picture of the annual Reminder Day picket that I mentioned earlier. So, the Hays Code, what was it? Well, also called the Motion Picture Production Code, it was a set of industry guidelines which banned certain themes or topics from being shown through the medium of film, and it acted in the United States from 1930 till 1968. According to the Hays Code, the following were illegal to present in films: nudity, interracial relationships, swearing, ridicule of the law, the church being portrayed as a villain, and of course any form of LGBT+ expression. But some filmmakers got around this, unfortunately, by utilizing something called queer coding. So what is queer coding? Well, it's when a character is given characteristics stereotypically associated with LGBT+ people without ever explicitly saying whether if they are gay, lesbian, trans, etc. This led to the only queer representation in films as that of villains. In 1968, the Hays Code was replaced with the age rating classification system we have today. But why did we make that change, and what is the difference in queer representation in media nowadays? Now we have the opportunity to create and enjoy much more positive representations of LGBT+ people, identities and relationships in film and on TV. To talk about a woman called Marsha.P.Johnson. She was a transgender woman who is an activist for gay and trans rights, and is even today recognized as one of the most important figures for LGBT+ rights through the 60s and 70s. But again, what did she do that was so revolutionary? Throughout her life, she worked tirelessly to advocate for queer rights, being a founding member of STAR, whose mission was to help give a home to trans people who had been outcast onto the streets. She was also a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front, and famously threw the first brick at the Stonewall Inn, leading to the infamous Stonewall Riots. If you haven't heard of the Stonewall Riots, they were really a key turning point in queer history, and I would definitely recommend looking into it. Marsha was also an inspirational speaker, writer, and performer, nicknamed the Queen of the Drag Scene due to her flamboyant and extroverted personality. Despite these incredible achievements, Marsha constantly faced challenges due to her race and gender identity, in fact living a poverty-stricken life without a place to call home. This here is a photo of a memorial in her honor in New York City, showing that her legacy continues to inspire generations of LGBT+ activists. That concludes this presentation on Pride History Month from us at the Cultural Ambassadors. Thank you very much for your time. I really hope you learned something today. Hopefully you found some of it interesting. That's it from me. Happy Pride History Month, and thank you for listening.